Cycle. Break off a stray from the herd and push him to the right. Snaggers.
What if I told you that the sound of Parasaurolophus in the movie franchise Jurassic Park is not real? Have you ever wondered how on earth the film crew managed to produce the sounds of so many different kinds of dinosaurs? Well, this is the topic I've dedicated to for the past 4 years, and it is my honor today to be invited by the ASA and share with you guys this research I'm very, very excited about, which is the acoustic characteristics of Parasaurolophus crest, experimental results from a simplified anatomical model. And my name is Nick Hongjin Lim. Welcome to this presentation. Before I take you guys on my journey of exploration, let me ask you, what is actually so interesting about Parasaurolophus? It turns out that Parasaurolophus is a genus of hadrosaurid dinosaur from the late Cretaceous period in North America, and it is very, very famous for its cranial crest at the back of their skulls. This structure has long been hypothesized to function as a resonance chamber by a lot of researchers. And that takes us back to the starting point of my research, when I came across this paper by White-Shampo in 1981, who proposed an acoustic model treating this crest as an open pipe closed pipe system. After that, I kept wondering if there are any other interesting papers about Parasaurolophus crest out there. And later, I found this paper by Fark in 2013, suggesting that it is actually not the case as White-Shampo suggested. When I read that, I realized, aha, White-Shampo's model needs an update. And that's when I get to work. My research objective is to firstly develop an updated acoustic model of the Parasaurolophus crest, and secondly, to empirically test how the updated model affects the resonance behavior of these two pipe systems. And how can I verify my model by an experiment? I decided to build a physical apparatus representing the model and test its acoustic properties. Very intuitively, it consists of two connected open pipes based on those two previously mentioned papers. After I set this up, I conducted frequency sweeps using a speaker and recorded resonance data with a minimally invasive microphone at 3 distinct locations. All operations such as calibration, frequency adjustment, and data collection were automated by a Python script. A control group, which is an open pipe of the same length as the straight pipe of my two-pipe system, was used for comparison. The schematic experiment diagram is presented here on the left, where you can see how the system is implemented. We will take a closer look at the setup in the next slides. Here are some photos of my lab setup. Annotated as mic here, the minimally invasive microphone is attached to the end of this blue rod, so I can probe the mic inside the tested pipes and at the same time keep track of how far the microphone is inside. Right here, I have the function generator producing pure tone sine waves for the speakers here. You can imagine it starts off playing very low tones and keeps going up, like I'm doing it actually faster than it really does, but I hope you get the idea. And lastly, this is my oscilloscope, which transfers the data captured by the microphone back to my computer. And now, here's a sneak peek of the results from my experiment. And if you're interested, you're more than welcome to attend my session at ASA this Thursday at 3 p.m. in general topics in structural, acoustics, and vibrations. Thank you very much.
All right, so now we'll have Hungjun come and answer some questions. So, we kind of talked about this in the interview you did for the press release, but can you talk about, first off, what's about like dinosaurs made you interested? What was your motivation for this research?
Um, thank you very much for having me today, and it's pretty good talking to you guys. And the motivation for my research, the first motivation that came to my mind is that I want dinosaur sound in my music. I myself is a music producer, and I have this obsession with big animals like dinosaurs, and it is really cool to have them sing in my music. And of course, if we can simulate or at least have an idea of how this dinosaur sound like, this may contribute to cinematic sounds. Um, as I talked about in my presentation, Jurassic Park can use this sound, and also it's very cool in education. So the kids will be able to have a more intuitive idea about what is dinosaur, and of course, it's going to contribute to the paleontology studies.
Yeah, and was the reason you chose the Parasaurolophus because of the papers you found, or was it a dinosaur that interested you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, when I was very young, I used to read books about dinosaur like all day long, and Parasaurolophus is definitely a very beautiful dinosaur because they have this crest structure at the back of their skull, which is very unique among those dinosaurs.
Yeah, it is a definitely a unique looking one. So we have a question from Jessica about um why is determining the sound of the Parasaurolophus so difficult? I mean, we kind of understand why why it's hard to obviously there's no one to listen to a dinosaur now. Um, but I believe you kind of talked about how the crest makes it kind of unique. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, that is a great question, and basically why we are studying this sound. And of course, if you want to study a sound of any other animals that exist today, you can just go out and find these creatures, and that would be very easy to do. But dinosaurs, it is impossible. So that's the greatest challenge. And so now we have seen a lot of different approaches among the sound studies of across different species, and a prevailing one is to model them as some kind of pipe structures, because we understand that sound is produced by different kind of creatures by the vibration of the air column inside the vocal tracts or other vocal organs. And the challenge is that, the fossils are often poorly preserved, and you have these soft tissues in the animals, but they somehow are harder to preserve, or um, even the fossils, it's hard to determine if it is a soft tissue or not.
Yeah, for sure. That's very tough to work with dinosaurs, and I know there's a lot out there about, there's a lot of debate about what they looked like, were they feathered, what sounds do they make? So this is really cool research, I think, just like for general people that were very excited about dinosaurs growing up. Um, so from Ash Snow, we have a question. Do you have a sound bite of what you think that the Parasaurolophus has actually sounded like?
Um, right now we not yet. So, what I'm coming from of this research is I hope to produce a VST plugin. As musicians might know, is a plugin that you can use in your DAW as like a music editor. So it works like a synthesizer. But from that, we need a mathematical model first, so I can put in parameters and build this synthesizer. And we are still working on the mathematical model right now. We have a even more simplified model working, uh, comparing to what I have in this paper and in this research I'm presenting. But if I were to guess what this dinosaur sounds like, my guess will sounds more like a brass instrument, like the huge trumpet, a huge cornet, or saxophone, things like that. That would be my guess. But of course, this assumption is made upon my model because I modeled it as a pipe-like structure. Also, one of my advisors actually suggested that this might be more complicated, but that in a way that there will be some soft tissues introduced in this structure and it will turn the whole thing over. In that case, this will sound more like a clarinet. And so, in conclusion, that whatever it sounds like, it's definitely not gonna be sound like what they did in Jurassic Park, which is a synthesis of, if I remember right, is sound of crocodiles and baby whales, mm, like living animals like that. So it will more sound like a brass instrument or wind instrument.
Gotcha. So we'll do two more questions. But again, if you're interested in talking to Hungjun, please let me know or go to a session. So the next question is from Avery. You mentioned living animals. Can you talk about any living animals with similar crest-like structures that can produce sounds and whether or not that has influenced your research?
Um, the influ the influence by the study of other kind of animals are more or less on the modeling aspect. So there are actually a lot of researchers modeling the birds, yeah, with the similar structures as pipes, and there's where I got my inspiration from.
Gotcha. All right, and our final question from Paul. So, following up on one of the data collection pieces you did, which was the frequency sweep, what generated the sounds that were altered by the pipe? You said there was the microphone, but yeah, how were those sounds generated into the pipe?
The sounds was generated through a speaker, and that speaker was driven by a function generator, and that is which is mimicking the vocal cord that first vibrated the air column and passed the sound wave through this pipe structure. That's going to alternate the sound colorization, if I put it this way, of the sound.